In The Seat of the Soul, Gary Zukav shares a powerful discovery that he made after studying historical figures like Albert Einstein, William James, and the psychologist Carl Jung. Zukav believes that these thought leaders, along with many others, developed their groundbreaking theories and game-changing ideas by going beyond themselves. They had their breakthroughs by transcending their egos and tapping into a source of knowledge that was already there, the soul. Zukav's belief is that being able to tap into the soul gives us authentic power. Authentic power is all about our ability to make a deep connection with our soul and its ultimate purpose for our lives. For each of us, he tells us, comes into this world with a soul that has a purpose, and that soul's purpose is intertwined within the greater purpose of the universe as a whole. Heavy stuff, but we'll unpack these concepts as we dive into the big ideas. The bottom line, though, is this. The ideas that Zukav shares in this book will help you become the authority of your own life. No more being overly concerned with what others think. No more trying to manipulate or control people. This book teaches us how to live a life that aligns with our soul's purpose so that we can lead lives that are meaningful and fulfilling. Here's what you'll learn about in this audiobook summary. How to lead your life with authority. How to authentically interact with others. You'll gain a better understanding of your actions and motivations. You'll learn about how to tap into your purpose, and much, much more. Here's a quick, tweetable summary to describe this book in a nutshell. Achieve authentic power by letting your soul, rather than your personality, guide your life. Now, before we dive into the big ideas, a few crucial quotes pulled directly from the book. Quote, "For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You receive from the world what you give to the world." Quote, "It is the health of the soul that is the true purpose of the human experience." Quote, "When the personality comes fully to serve the energy of its soul, that is authentic empowerment." And the final crucial quote, "Every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention, and that intention is a cause that exists as one with an effect." Ready to dive into the big ideas? Let's get into it. Big idea number 1, authentic power. Quote, "When you choose the energy of your soul, when you choose to create with the intentions of love, forgiveness, humbleness, and clarity, you gain power." Unquote. We all recognize and understand that as human beings, most of us are born with the gift of the 5 physical senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. But could there be more to it than that? Zukav says, yes. According to him, if we were to truly explore beyond the 5 senses we've just mentioned, there's more to answer and more to uncover about what we are and what our purpose is as human beings. If we dig deep, we can elevate ourselves to the level of what Zukav refers to as multi-sensory beings. A multi-sensory being is a person who's exceptionally evolved, someone with a larger understanding of the universe. Examples of people who understood this multi-sensory dimension were people like Buddha or Jesus. When most of us are unable to observe something via the 5 physical senses, we tend to deny its existence, which would seem like a very rational thing to do. After all, If you can't see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, or smell it, how do you know it exists? Well, a big part of the book is about helping you to answer that question, because by doing so, you too can tap into the multi-sensory side of your being, bringing you closer to that deep knowledge and wisdom embodied by some of history's greatest thinkers and leaders. One of the reasons most people don't evolve into becoming a multisensory being is because the five-sensory world is focused on our security and survival needs. In the five-sensory world, the most important benchmark for evolution is being able to survive. If we can't survive, we can't thrive. Zukav tells us that this leads to developing a fear of not surviving, which becomes a central part of human psychology and human relationships. Furthermore, the five-sensory world is focused on a person's ability to exert power, primarily by means of control, controlling the environment, controlling nature, controlling other human beings, controlling the economy. These are all five-sensory tactics to help people gain external power. But if you look at some of history's greatest changemakers, the ones who really inspired us and changed our way of thinking, you'll notice that many of these changemakers had practically no external power at all. Think about Jesus, for example, who was a carpenter with very little external power, but whose words, whose wisdom, and whose actions became more powerful than the Roman Empire. As Zukav tells us in the book, the perception of power as external splinters the psyche, whether it is the psyche of the individual, the community, the nation, or the world. In The Seed of the Soul, Zukav aims to help us realize a totally different type of power, an authentic power rooted in love, compassion, clear intention, and humility. Big idea number 2, the personality and the soul. Quote, "The fears of anger and jealousy that distort the personality cannot be understood separately from the karmic circumstances that make them. When you understand and truly understand that the experiences of your life are necessary to balance the energy of your soul, you have the freedom not to respond to them personally, not to create negative karma for your soul anymore." Unquote. Zukav tells us that each person's soul knows what it needs to accomplish before it even enters an individual's body. Of course, this isn't something we human beings recognize or remember when we're born. We forget the intentions of our souls upon birth. Your personality is born with your body, but your soul transcends beyond your body. Your personality has preferences, likes and dislikes, but your soul has intentions that it aims to fulfill through your life. Your soul wants to guide your life so that these intentions are fulfilled, but your personality might have conflicting desires that override or cancel out the intentions of your soul. Now, if this happens, your personality ends up shaping your life. And because most people don't fully understand the differences between the soul and the personality, their mode of living is based upon their personality only. But those of us who are truly dedicated to expanding our knowledge and seeking wisdom will eventually learn to make way for the soul, allowing it to fully express its purpose. When you experience quote-unquote bad emotions like anger, jealousy, fear, or greed, you can be certain they're directed by the personality. But when you become aware of the soul, you become able to see past these emotional states, both within yourself as well as others. When we choose to be in service of our soul's purpose, we step into authentic empowerment. We might find ourselves resisting what it's asking, but our evolution depends upon whether we listen to our soul's intention and take actions to fulfill them. Bottom line, in order to achieve authentic power, we've got to focus on aligning our personality with our soul. Big idea number 3, emotions and authentic power. Quote, "Only through emotions can you encounter the force field of your own soul." Unquote. A culture that focuses primarily on external power pays little attention to how our actions make others feel. Feelings are ignored, but without finding the root causes of anger and sadness, or happiness and joy, we are unable to see what's true to the soul versus what's coming from the personality. Our current world of science, logic, and reason has taken humanity far, but it pushes aside our emotions. We're not robots. We need to feel our feelings, because when we ignore them, we ignore the soul. And ultimately, this results in a life that feels empty and lacks a sense of meaning. So what's the fix? How can you live more consciously? Well, one thing you can do is to embrace your emotions, the good and the bad. When you feel pain, don't ignore it. Feel it and face it. Only then can you overcome it. Ignoring emotions blocks us from growth and blocks us from the path of the soul. The key to growth is to get to the heart of why you feel the way you feel. Your emotions reflect your intentions. When you feel emotional pain, dig into your intentions. Why do you feel this way? For example, if you hold an intention to have an extraordinary and loving relationship with your partner, but simultaneously and unconsciously hold an intention to end it, then the stronger intention will win. Once the relationship is over, you might reflect on it, thinking that things didn't work out despite the best of intentions. But in reality, things turned out exactly as you intended. As Zukav writes in the book, when anger or fear builds up in a person, even the world he lives in increasingly reflects the anger or fear he needs to heal. Thus, in the end, the personality will only understand that it creates its own experiences and perceptions, that its righteous anger or justifiable fear springs from itself, and that it can replace them with other perceptions and experiences only with the power of its own being. Big idea number 4. Intuition is like a walkie-talkie. Quote, "Every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention, and that intention is a cause that exists as one with an effect." Unquote. You've probably been told at some point in your life to listen to your gut. But how? You probably weren't taught how to listen to your gut or to trust your intuition. And the reason behind this is simple. We tend to live out our lives through our 5 senses. It's what we're taught. It's how most people around us operate. So, we ignore embracing the power of intuition because we're generally guided by our 5 human senses. But a multi-sensory individual recognizes the power of intuition, those little hunches that nudge us this way or that way. A multisensory person embraces intuition and understands that it's connected to something bigger, something that wants to guide us towards the truth. But in order to tap into and receive our intuitions, we need clarity. And we gain clarity by clearing our mental space of unexpressed emotions. Observe your thoughts and feel your emotions. It'll clear your head and tame the mental chatter, opening up space for intuition to be your guide. In order to make it easier for yourself to cultivate intuition, develop a sense of unwavering faith that whatever it is that you are experiencing in life has a reason behind it. Trust that however hard something may be in the moment, it's ultimately in your best interest. Doing this will make you less judgmental and more open to truth. Zukav tells us that this intuition is like a walkie-talkie between the personality and the soul. For most people, it's difficult to fully place their trust in their intuition because it may occasionally point us down the path of more resistance or send us in a direction we don't like. But if we don't listen to and trust our intuition and the advice that comes from the soul, we'll never be able to live up to our highest potential. If we ignore the soul, the personality will take over and guide us, usually in a direction that ultimately harms us rather than helps us to achieve the fulfillment we desire. Big idea number 5, the splintered personality. Quote, every decision that you make either moves you toward your personality or toward your soul. Each decision you make is an answer to the question, how do you choose to learn love? How do you choose to learn authentic empowerment? Through doubt and fear or through wisdom? Unquote. We've all got sides. A good side, a bad side, a giving side, a selfish side, loving side, caring side, spiritual side, angry side. You get the idea. Each of us and each of these individual dimensions have their own intentions. And yes, they often contradict and conflict with one another. These self-defeating characteristics that each of us hold to a certain degree lead to what Zukav refers to as the splintered personality. The splintered personality seems to send us down a never-ending path filled with pain and problems. Naturally, you're probably interested in finding out what can be done about this. Well, let's get into it. The first step is this. Admit that you often tear yourself apart. Just admit it. Step 2, appreciate the fact that part of your soul's intention is to experience the full mosaic of life, which includes all of the varying and conflicting states of being. But the soul's intention is not to simply experience these states of being, but to help you heal those parts of itself that require healing. And step 3, equipped with this knowledge, open yourself to the possibility of exposing these states of being rather than burying them away. Examine them. Look at them from different angles. Consider the possibility that even the worst of states can serve you in some way. In other words, think about it this way. If you had no problems or painful experiences and emotions in your life, you might miss out on the ideas, interests, and experiences that enrich your life and provide it with purpose and meaning. Big idea number 6, temptation. Quote, when a personality is in full balance, you cannot see where it ends and the soul begins. That is a whole human being. Unquote. Temptation, Zukav tells us, is a thought form that is designed to draw possible negativity from the human energy system without harming others. Now, what does that mean exactly? Basically, the soul's goal with regard to temptation revolves around helping us heal and find balance. The soul pulls back the curtain on those parts of us that need healing, those temptations and urges that need to be balanced. The paradox of temptation, however, is that it requires us to exercise the responsibility of choice. If we choose wisely, it brings us closer to the person we seek to be. If we choose blindly, it holds us back from being in harmony. Choosing wisely means choosing to accept the many sides of ourselves. Choosing wisely means opening up the possibility of incorporating these different sides of ourselves back into a unified sense of self and reestablishing a connection to our life's purpose. Big idea number 7, soul knowledge. Quote, "Truth is that which does not contaminate you, but empowers you. Therefore, there are degrees of truth, but generically, truth is that which can do no harm. It cannot harm." Unquote. Did you know that the original meaning of the word psychology is soul knowledge? Yep, that's right. Zukav tells us that psychology used to have more depth as an area of learning than it does today. Nowadays, however, psychology has turned its attention to the personality. In order to genuinely evolve, our world requires an elevated awareness of the soul, as well as a balanced approach to the study of the personality. And one of Zukav's chief aims in writing The Seat of the Soul is to redefine the collective understanding of power in such a way that it's about more than just external power. Authentic power is about achieving alignment with your soul, which is the internal, and your personality, which is the external. Many people chase external power, like status, fame, and financial success. Why? Because many people lack internal power. But when we tap into our soul knowledge, that's when we tap into our authentic power. Bottom line, if we live our lives as 5 sensory beings based only upon what we can see, smell, hear, taste, or touch, we close the door on genuine truth. In order to tap into the full experience of life, in order to tap into true fulfillment, we've got to reach inside and seek to find our very own seat of the soul. Closing notes. The key takeaway from the seat of the soul is this: you can achieve authentic power by letting your soul, rather than your personality, guide your life. Here's one final quote to keep in mind as we close out this audiobook summary. "The decisions that you make and the actions that you take upon the earth are the means by which you evolve. At each moment, you choose the intentions that will shape your experiences and those things upon which you will focus your attention. These choices affect your evolutionary process. This is so for each